Okay, guys, let's just go quickly back then to defamation. Concerned with protecting the good name or reputation of a person. That is the definition. So if they ask you in exam, what is defamation? You just say, defamation is concerned with protecting the good name or reputation. Pharma is another word for reputation. Okay? Pharma equals reputation is just a synonym. In other words, reputation refers to your good name. We've spoken about that and how important the good name is to absolutely everybody. So the wrongful, it's got to be wrongful, guys, and unlawful, plus intentional publication of a defamatory material that pertains to a person constitutes defamation. Okay? So when you talk about defamation and the definition, you have to say also that it must be wrongful and it must be intentional. Okay? Otherwise it cannot be defamation. In order for someone to be liable for defamation, there are certain requirements. Okay? What are these requirements, guys? Number one, violation of the right to reputation. That was what? Let's see. A violation of the right to reputation that was wrongful and intentional. Okay, so we've gone through this a couple of times now. It must be wrongful, which means unlawful, and it has to be intentional. Otherwise it cannot be defamation. Remember we said that defamation cannot be negligent. Okay? There's no such thing in South African law, negligent defamation. You must have the intention to defame that person or institution. Okay? Now we've said also that the plaintiff must prove the elements required to show that his or her reputation was factually disturbed. In other words, the plaintiff bears the onus. What does that mean? What does it mean if I say that the plaintiff bears the onus? It means that the plaintiff, the person that was defamed, must prove in a court of law that he was defamed. Okay? And how must he prove it? He must prove it on a balance of probabilities. Remember, that's what we said that the test was. 51% has got to sway towards his side. Not like in a criminal case where 100% the court or the judge must be sure. Okay. So the plaintiff must prove that the elements required to show that his reputation was factually disturbed. The court will first look at the meaning of the words. Remember, we said that the court will then sit and they will say, they will look at this article, physically take this article, or if it was on television, they will look at that specific clip, and then the court will first look at the meaning of the words and if the words that was used was defamatory. Okay? So that is the work of the judge. That is what the judge has got to do. He's got to determine the meaning of the words. Now when the court determines the meaning of the words, the court look at what? Okay? First, the primary or the ordinary meaning of the words. That's what the court look at, always, firstly. Secondly, we've used this example. Let's look at this example. When using the phrase, a sly fox, it refers indeed to a fox. Okay? Am I right? On the other hand, when used in reference to a person, okay, you might feel insulted. So if I see a fox running that just ate my chickens, if I'm a farmer, and I say, yo, that's a sly fox, okay? That is what it means. It's a sly fox. But if I say that you are a sly fox, it means something completely different, okay? It means something completely different. So the court always looks at the primary or the ordinary meaning of words. Then the court, after the primary meaning, the court look at the secondary or the hidden meaning of the word. Okay, so the secondary meaning given to the words usually occur where both parties are aware or know such meaning to the words or words used in whatever context. Okay, so both parties in this specific instance must be aware of the meaning or the hidden meaning of these words. That is what the court look at, the secondary or the hidden meaning. Thirdly, the court looks at quasi-innuendos. Now what on earth is a quasi-innuendo? This refers to whether the meaning of the word is more defamatory in the circumstances than it was used. Let's see if we can quasi-innuendo. Okay, quasi-innuendo will also be in the form of sly fox if the words is more defamatory in the certain circumstances. Okay, so when I say, as I use the example, when I talk about a sly fox and it's a real sly fox, not defamatory, but if I say you're a sly fox, quasi-innuendo. We can put that in there as well, okay? Because how the words are used in the certain circumstances. Then the court also has to look at the reasonable reader, listener, or the viewer. Now, of course, we in South Africa live in a multicultural, diverse society with different temperaments, different outlooks. All of these the different outlooks, different cultures, needs to be taken into account to determine what is reasonable. Okay, so in other words, what might be reasonable in South Africa might not be reasonable in America or in Russia or in China or even in different provinces. Okay, what is reasonable in one province might not be reasonable in another province, because we've got so many different cultures, viewpoints in our society. Good. Now, what is the test of the courts? We've spoken about this as well. How would an ordinary listener or reviewer understand the material? Okay. The context must be considered, not in isolation. Remember, guys, we said that we cannot only take certain words out of these paragraphs, but we have to look at the entire contents. Okay. So a judge is not only going to underline certain words in the material, he's going to look at the whole context of the material in front of him. Also, the tone in which the words are uttered must be considered. And as a benchmark criterion, our courts have drawn on the English case of Sim versus Stretch. This is what they said in Sim versus Stretch. Okay, guys, and when you look at your study guides, if it says Sim versus Stretch 1965 V 22545 etc., you don't have to study it like that. You've only got to know Sim versus Stretch. Okay, and in this specific case, it said that would the words tend to lower the plaintiff in the estimation of right-thinking members of society in general. Okay, so that is the benchmark criterion which is used in our courts. Okay, this English case, the Stretch case. Would the words tend to lower the plaintiff in the estimation of right-thinking members of society? Now, that right-thinking members of society is normally what we say today, the reasonable person. Okay, the right-thinking members. Okay, in other words, they're not insane, they're not underaged, they're normal people. Okay, so if the normal people in society will think that his estimation is lowered, then that is the benchmark that the court use. Good. Now, defamatory material usually falls into 4 broad categories. Guys, I've always seen this. I've seen this in previous tests as well. So look at this. Make a big NB there at 3.2. Defamatory material falls into 4 broad categories. Number 1, imputations against a person's moral character or lifestyle. Imputation is like an allegation or certain remarks. Okay? So imputation is remark, allegations or something like that against a person's moral character or lifestyle. That is number 1. Let's have an example of that. If I make negative comments on the character and public life of a politician, say for argument's sake. Okay? So against a person's moral character, comments on the character and public life of a politician. Okay. Secondly, the second one, imputations that leads to hatred and ridicule. Contemptuous remarks regarding a person's race or racial views. That's our second one, hate and ridicule. Third one, communications that lead to shunning or avoiding that specific person. Example of that will be when I make derogatory remarks in respect of a person's physical or mental disposition. Okay, I call him a loony, or I say that he's mentally, or I say that he's insane, or anything like that. Then impairments of professional or business reputation. Example here is that when I say that a certain person's professional abilities or competence is lacking. In other words, he cannot do his job properly, he's not a good architect, he's not a good lawyer, and I give certain reasons for that. So I bring that person into disrepute in his specific profession. So we've got negative comments regarding moral character, regarding hatred and ridicule, shunning or avoiding, and business reputation. Guys, and this is normally an 8-mark question because you've got the 4 categories that you've got to mention, and then just give an example, short example of each of them. Okay. Mark my words, guys, it's always in the exams.